Hello and welcome to another video tutorial. Today I wanted to share about how to start buying things from Papertrey Inc. I know it's kind of a strange video topic, but I get asked about it all the time because there are just so many really cool Papertrey Inc. products and people don't know how to start ordering them. So I'm going to give you kind of just a list, some rough guidelines that I would use if I were to start buying Papertrey Inc. products right now, using some of my favorites as guidelines. I will also have a PDF up on my blog and under this video on YouTube that you can go to with a checklist so you can see my favorites and my categories that I recommend. Of course, this is all just my suggestion, but I figure you'll enjoy kind of just seeing and then adjusting it more to your taste. So first I'm going to start out with cardstock. I love Papertrey Inc. cardstock, and I have all of their colors, and I have all their colors in at least a 12-pack, some of them in 24 packs. And their cardstock is very thick. I believe it is 120 pound. Don't quote me on that though. But it's very... Okay, so I have a selection of papers in the best colors possible from different companies. I have Papertrey Inc., Hero Arts, Hero Hues paper, Stampin' Up!, this is American Crafts, and then Basil. And Basil and American Crafts are both textured on one side and smooth, mostly smooth, on the other. And then Papertrey Inc. is a little bit thicker than Stampin' Up. They're pretty close in heft though, and they fold about the same, I've discovered. And then Hero Arts is just a little bit thinner and has a white backing. So I would say that this is probably about 3/4 of the width as Papertrey Inc., or 3/4 of the heft. So it's something that you just really have to get in your hands to feel it. I really like Papertrey Inc. cardstock. The one thing that does bother me though is that you can't cut it in a silhouette. It's too thick. So I use American Crafts cardstock, and I've also heard that Hero Hues cuts very, very well, so I'm excited to try that out. But something about the very tight weave in the paper makes it hard for the machine to cut through it without tearing and causing all sorts of fuzzies. So this is the sampler, the 2009 sampler pack. This comes with 2 sheets of each color. I've taken out 1 color of each though. And you can buy this for $10. It's 50 sheets, and you get 2 of each color from 2009. So this does not include their 7 newest colors though, which if you go to their website and go to their paper, they're the 7 last ones listed. So Hawaiian Shores, Simply Chartreuse, Harvest Gold, Fine Linen, Blueberry Sky, Pine Feather, and Royal Velvet aren't in this pack. But I'm assuming they will release a new variety pack sometime soon. At least I hope so. In which case, this is a fantastic thing to start out with. Even if it's the older colors, you get a good feeling for what colors you like, what colors you'll use a lot, and it's a good reference to have. Then I would, with your first order, or maybe if you're like me, I remember I only ordered the sampler pack at first, but I'm going to tell you my favorite colors, what I would order on my first order again. So I would order a 12-pack of Harvest Gold, which is one of their newer colors, a 12-pack of Spring Moss, Simply Chartreuse, and Aqua Mist. Because I love these 4 colors together, and I use these 4 colors more than any other colors in my stash. Also, Kraft Cardstock. And I would just order 50 sheets of this, because it's seriously a fantastic color of craft, and it's very thick, it's very sturdy, it'll stand up to whatever you put it through. So each one of these packs of 12 is $3. If you buy a pack of 24, it's $5. And then this pack of 50 pieces of Kraft Cardstock is I want to say $9. It might be a little bit less than that though. So that's what I would start out with. Also, my other favorite neutrals are, of course, my vintage cream. And if you're looking to place a big first order, I would include these three for sure. Vintage cream, Smoky Shadow, and Enchanted Evening. I'm almost running out of my stash of them, which is why I have unopened packs. So these three plus Kraft are the best neutrals out there, and I use them very, very often. So that's my list of cardstock. Next, we'll go into embellishments. I recommend that you take advantage of their matching color system. So I would pick Aqua Mist and Simply Chartreuse satin ribbon to go along with them. It's 5 yards for $3, and you get the ink, or you get the paper that matches the ribbon. So I think that's kind of cool to have the paper and the ribbon matching up, so you can get an experience with that. You could also buy some saddle stitch ribbon, which I only have a few rolls of this and not in any of the colors I picked before. This is Raspberry Fizz. So you could get 1 roll of satin, 1 roll of saddle stitch, but I recommend starting out with 2 rolls of ribbon just so you can play around with them. Then I also recommend starting out with 2 packages of buttons. This is how they come packaged, and they're $5 for a bag like this, but a bag like this will last you forever. This is from my first Papertrey ink order ever, and I've only used about half of them. This is the Spring Moss, this is the Aqua Mist, and then this is the Simply Chartreuse. If I was ordering again for the first time, I would order the Spring Moss and the Aqua Mist on my first try. And those go with the ribbons and paper that we picked out as well. So having everything coordinated is really nice to get a sense of what you want, and then when you have your sampler pack, you can choose what colors you really like and want to buy more embellishments of. Also, they carry some neutrals that I really like. They carry some button twine in off-white and this natural color. I love this natural color. It's just a great thing to have on hand. They also sell this silk ribbon that's 1/4 inch. They also sell it in 1/8 inch. But I use this 1/4 inch like it's going out of style, so I love it. So those two, and those are $3 a piece. Then we have the stamps. This is where people get the most confused because, well, they have a lot of stamps and a lot of very nice, pretty stamps. So what I recommend doing is buying 1 set from each category of backgrounds, images, and minis. And you'll see what I mean in a second. This is my background set, and I recommend choosing 1 background set to work with for your first order, and these are my 3 favorites. I have the Polka Dot Basics 2, the Newsprint, and the Gingham. And all of these are super, super versatile, and you can use them on any project. That's why I picked them out. I use them all the time. So really, you choose any of these and you'll be a very happy camper. It just gives you that opportunity to play with how Papertrey ink stamps work, how you line them up, and how you stamp them. So choose 1 of the background stamps. And you can choose any one you want, but these are my 3 favorites and the ones I recommend for starting out. Then next we have images. I recommend starting out with either a Year of Flowers set. So I have the marigolds and the roses here, and I love these 2 sets. I use these all the time. And they're just really pretty, super easy to cut out. Either one of those. The In Bloom set, which it's been one of my favorites for a really long time. And then, or a matte stack set. So either the first one, but number 4 is my absolute favorite. And this also has a coordinating die, which we will talk about in a little bit. But this is just all 3 types of these. Well, all 4 sets, basically. If you choose one of these, you'll get a lot of use out of it. Get lots of coloring chances or layering chances. So I would definitely choose something like this. Either a flower set, one that just looks really nice to you, or a matte stack set. Next we have the minis. These are Papertrey Inc.'s newest addition to their stamps, and they are $5 for a 3x4 sheet of stamps. So we have the fillable frames line, which I suggest getting one of these fillable frames, and you can see on the back here that they come with many 5 sentiments that are very, very useful. So, hello, take note, many thanks, best wishes, thank you, get well soon, you're invited, and then a frame to coordinate with them. And all these sentiments are able to fit in all of the frames across the board. So, number 1, number 7, and number 10 are my favorites here, and I recommend choosing one. Then I also recommend choosing one of the newer, this is from their newer lines, Taggets by Pine Feather Express, which is Heather Nichols. I have number 1 and number 2, but for some reason I can't find number 2 around here. It's missing. But I would recommend getting either number 1 or number 2. And they just have really cute images that you can play around with. A circle that fits into their typical 1 3/4 inch circle, which is the thing that they use over and over and over as kind of a standard, and then several sentiments, and the Taggets 2 set is really cute as well. So I recommend choosing one of those. Then I recommend choosing one of the signature series, and I just love all 4 of these, but I chose these 2 as my favorites, the butterfly and the flower. And they just have very, very usable sentiments: bloom and grow forever, thanks a million, wishing you a lovely day, I love you forever and a day, you fill my days with joy, wishing you blue skies and sunshine. Just things like that. Really simple, really easy to use on any project, and they're designed by Don McVeigh. And I just keep those all together, all 4 sets, in one CD case, which you can also purchase from Papertrey. And yeah, that's a really nice way to keep them together. So I would pick 1 set from Fillable Frames, 1 stamp set from Taggets, and 1 stamp set from Signature Series. And that just equals $15 because you're choosing 3 of the $5 sets. So that's only $45 on stamps if you stick to the smaller stamp sets before. And you get a huge, huge variety. Lastly, the thing that I wanted to talk about was their dies. Their dies are wafer thin, and they can be used in any die cut machine that you can use a wafer thin die in. So the main ones would be Cuttlebug and Sizzix, you know, Big Shot Express, Tim Holtz Vagabond. All of those easily take these wafer thin dies, and you just use your regular, for Sizzix, Big Shot, it's just your regular platform and then the 2 mats, and you just put your paper and your die in between and run it through. I don't have a Cuttlebug, so I don't know the sandwich for that one, and I don't want to inform you incorrectly. But there are lots of tutorials out there, and it's a very normal thing to do. It won't break your machine or anything like that. So dies are awesome. They cut through cork, felt, cardstock, thin chipboard. I've even heard of people cutting fabric. They're not sharp. You can see I'm running my finger over the die edge. It's not cutting me. It's just kind of like a line. I mean, you can definitely feel it. It's definitely a ridge, but you don't cut yourself on it. And that's what impresses into the paper and cuts through it. So you can cut pretty much anything with these. Anything that's kind of thin. You know, it can't be like very thick chipboard because the die is not that thick. But anything reasonable, felt, definitely you can cut through. And it's just awesome. So I would recommend buying some of the dies to go along with the sets that you chose. So if you chose the Signature Series Butterfly, then I recommend getting the Signature Series Butterfly die. And that way you can experiment with putting the 2 together, and I usually die cut it and then stamp it because that works best for me. Or if you choose the Signature Series Flower, you can get that flower die. There's dies that coordinate with every fillable frame, so you could get that. And then if you choose to get a matte stack die, or matte stack stamp set, you can get the coordinating die. So these 2 go together. So that's about, each one of these dies is about $5, the smaller dies. The bigger dies like this are usually $7, $8, or $9, depending on the size. So it's just a really cool way to get a lot of versatility out of your stash, and you can use all of these without the stamps as well. So that brings me into my next thing. These are what I call, in the next category, fun dies, where these don't necessarily go with the stamp set, or maybe you don't have the stamp set they go with, but you really like the shapes. So I recommend getting one set of fun dies that don't coordinate with the stamp set. My three favorites are Edgers number 1, and these are about $10. They go along the edge of your cards. You just fit your cardstock into the groove here, tape it with a little bit of low-tack tape, run it through, and then it cuts a nice beautiful edge on your project. Or you can get the Doily Dyes, which are some of my favorites. You've seen me use these a lot lately. And these run about 19, I believe, maybe 15, 16, 17, somewhere in there. And there are 3 of them in that collection. Those are really fun. And then I also really enjoy these Limitless Layers 3 1/4 inch dies. And these are their, like I said before, standard size. So you can use these actually with your Tag It stamps, or a lot of other stamp sets use this 1 3/4 inch circle. So if you don't have the circle punch, I don't have the circle punch that fits that, you can use the die and you can be kind of creative. And then there are these really cool mats to go along with it that are just slightly bigger than the 1 3/4 inch circle. And I use these a ton too. So those are my just for fun dies, and the Limitless Layers is about 20, I think, but you get 5 dies for that. So that's a pretty good deal, especially if you're going to use them over and over and over. And lastly, I wanted to talk to you about impression plates. I just recently bought my first impression plates in my last order. So I don't think you necessarily need them to start out, but they're a super cool thing to have. So if you have a little extra money, I would recommend buying the Woodgrain impression plate, which it has horizontal ones and vertical wood grain on both sides, along with the impression pad to go with it. And then you just lay your pads on top of your paper, which is on top of the plate, and run it through your Big Shot just like you would a regular embossing folder, because then it's that thickness. So, and it's just really cool. It adds some really awesome dimension to your projects. So, some other questions that I got. I asked my friends on Twitter and through email if they had any questions that they wanted me to address in the video. And I got a lot of questions about coordinating ink. Papertrey ink does have coordinating ink with their papers that goes with all their colors that I showed you before. But they're currently reformulating it, so I wouldn't recommend buying any right now until their new formula comes out. And it's apparently supposed to be really good, really opaque, and kind of a hybrid ink that dries quickly, but stamps really easily onto any surface. So I would wait on that. In order to coordinate inks with mine, I use Jenny Bowen inks, and I've shown this on my blog before, but all of the Jenny Bowen inks have a Papertrey color that they go pretty well with. I haven't done a chart in reverse, like having the paper on the left side and finding an ink color to match it, but I can usually be pretty creative with my stash, and if not, usually what I just do is use some paper and then clear emboss on it or white emboss on it, and then that gives me color coordination all across the board. So that's how I work around the coordinating ink, and I'm looking forward to their new inks being released. Also, when you first get the stamps, just know that they don't come in the CD case. They come with the CD case on a separate sheet of plastic. They come on a sheet of plastic like this. I cut this one down to fit in between my things just so they don't stick to each other. And then it also comes with labels on the bigger sets. On the $5 sets, it just comes in a little package and you can keep them in the little package. But this one came with 2 labels, and then you just take them off this backing sheet, stick them on here, and then you can even put this backing sheet in between just to kind of stick to your stamps and protect them from stamping on each other. So that's what I do. And you can also buy more CD cases through them, because I can't find them in my local stores for some reason. So yeah, so that's what I do, and I just store all of my CDs standing up in a CD box, and so I can see them all. I also labeled the edges with some vintage cream cardstock and just a marker. Some people cut off the label, you can see there's a label right here, and put it on the binding, but I'm not that coordinated, so I usually just stick it down. So yeah. So that's all I can think of to cover with your first Papertrey ink order. Don't worry, I have this all written down for you, all of my favorites in a quick, easy checklist format, so you can download it. I'll also include prices on it, just so you know. And I also have a sample order, so I picked one from each group of these and put it together, took a picture of it, and I'll list that as an option, so you can see what I mean by picking one from each category. So I hope that answers your questions about Papertrey ink. Sorry this ran a little bit longer than I thought, but apparently I like to talk. So let me know if you have any questions. Please feel free to leave a comment or email me if you need to. And enjoy your first order from Papertrey ink. Let me know how you like it and show me projects that you make, because I love seeing new projects and I love it when people start buying from new companies. It makes me really happy. I like to enable. So thank you very much for watching. Check out the links in the sub-bar and on my blog post for more information, and I will catch you again next time on another tutorial video.